Well, good morning once again, and thank you for joining us on GBS Morning Extra. If you are just joining us, well, you are watching GBS Morning Extra coming to you live from our studios here in Nairobi. Remember, our hashtag is GBS Morning Extra. Our Twitter handle is @KenyaGBS. You can get to watch this very episode live on Facebook, and also you can catch up with us later on YouTube. Now, as I promised earlier, today we are going to discuss about e-learning solutions. We know that, not most, but all the children are at home today. They are not able to go to school. And parents and also schools are grappling out there to just try and find a solution on the matter of education. Like we discussed on Monday, you remember when I had my two guests, Ashford and Collins, we were able to look at many other aspects. But as much as we were discussing that, today we decided to bring in an expert on e-learning who will be, shedding more light and even doing a small demo for us, just to give us a feel of what we are really talking about. My guest today is Alex Nyaga. Alex Nyaga is the Technical Director of EduVod Africa. Alex, good morning.
Good morning, Timothy.
Yes, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Yes.
Yep.
Of course, I wanted to ask if you are working from home, and then I just remember that you are those guys who facilitate people who would want to do stuff from home, especially when it comes to learning.
Yes, and I'm also doing from home.
You're also doing from home. Thank you.
Yes.
Alex, I'm really glad that you've joined us and you've accepted our invitation this early morning.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I know this is a time when most of the people who really work from home don't wake up early unless they have to, but then we've made you to rise up very early. Now, to start this conversation, Alex, right now in the country we are talking about, learning from home or home learning. I correct myself because on Monday when I was talking to some educationists, they told me I was using a different term. I was talking about homeschooling, and they told me, no, that's not homeschooling. That's home learning, because, these are children who go to school normally, but then because of the situation, they have to learn from home. Alex, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about what kind of solutions do you offer, both for schools and for students as well, as we start?
Okay, thank you, Timothy. Now, this pandemic has brought a few challenges in every sector of our economy, and education was most hit because you remember schools were the first one to become casualties when
Yes.
the president closed all the schools.
Yes.
So it caught many school owners, many parents, and educationists flat-footed.
Sure.
So everyone has been running around trying to get a solution that can work, and there are quite a number out there. Mm-hmm. For us as EduVod, what we thought, we sat and realized we need a solution that is wholesome, that delivers everything, because others are just small bits of what a solution is. So to me, they are products.
All right.
So we got a solution that can do live video learning from home. A teacher can manage assignment. They can give quizzes to their student, and that can be submitted remotely, electronically, and marked. And also being able to track the progress of that student. Because at the end of the day, what we are looking for is data. How do we confirm whether these students are really learning?
Yes.
And how do you confirm the level at what level are they learning at?
Yeah.
So that is what we looked at, and we looked for a partnership that would work for us, and that partnership, we got them in Microsoft.
Aha, that's wonderful. Alex,
Yeah.
maybe just if we can go straight to it before we come into all the discussions and maybe the other questions that our viewers may have in their mind. Is it possible, Alex, for you just to share something with us very simply and very quickly in about 2-3 minutes, just how the system works and what kind of systems you use?
Okay, I can just give you a sneak preview of what Microsoft has. Microsoft has a product called the Office 365.
All right.
And there are to counter, or rather to come and assist in what is happening right now, they have given it one package for free for all the schools and for all the students. So that at least
one
learning is
package
not
for free for
disrupted.
all schools.
Yes, and that package comes with a license for student for around 5,000 students per school. So it covers quite a number
of them, yeah.
Yes, yes. So what it gives, as I mentioned, so many products. Let me just share my screen with you.
Oh, that will be perfect. Maybe just to also give our viewers at home the chance to be able to see.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe if we can just magnify the screen and allow it to be more visible, Ben.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, you can just proceed because you're now on my screen. You've taken over and you can explain to us.
Okay. Now, what Microsoft has put together is all these applications that can be used in learning environment. We have Teams. Teams works for a live class, class where a teacher and a student will be able to interact remotely, and it can take as big as a class of 250 students. Then you can record, you can share work on it. Then we have forms. This is where you can set examinations, quizzes, and it helps you to auto-mark them. So the student gets their result immediately. They don't wait for the results to be sent to them later. And it also eases the work of the teacher because you don't have now to go through every assignment, marking one by one, then sending back the results. The other thing is the same platform will be able to track the progress. Where are we as a student? Where are we as learners? Where are teachers at? So even a school management, even the ministry will be able to track the progress, what teachers are teaching the student, at what level they are at, and all that. So at the end of the day, it's able to put together the right information that will help in decision making. Then we have a whiteboard. A whiteboard is basically a board in the classroom. And what it does is it helps the teachers to demonstrate like they're actually in class. And these cuts across subjects like mathematics, where demonstration and formula has to be used. So it helps in that area. Okay. So whatever you are writing here, all the students
who are connected will be able to see.
Exactly. And you can record this. So a student who unfortunately misses a class will be able to come and follow through. And they are following through the same teacher. They know the style of teaching.
Yes.
And if they have a question, they can engage the teacher and get more clarification.
That's interesting. Yeah. So then you don't have to go back and forth with the students who missed class.
No. You just let them access the platform and access the class as it were, and they'll be able to learn.
All right.
Now, these can also be used in those areas where there are not enough teachers.
All right.
Because a teacher in a certain school can conduct a class, that class is recorded, and the student in the remote parts can be able to interact with it. They'll be like learning in the same school that teacher teaches in. Yes.
So it's called a conductor class. What do you mean when you say a conductor class? Maybe break down that a little.
It's a connected class actually, because you are connecting people who will not be fortunate enough to have access to a teacher, for example.
All right.
A quality level of teaching, but they will be able to access the material for that teacher from where they are.
Say a teacher in Nairobi is able to conduct a class in Turkana.
Exactly.
And at the same time conducting another class in Kajulu in Kisumu County.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So now to just push, because now that platform of Microsoft is just a platform that enables learning to continue.
Yes.
Now EduVod has a platform now that has the content, the material, the books that the students need to when they are learning. So this is just a sample of our portal, how it looks like. You log in, you have access to all these material. You have a library, we have 844 curriculum, CBC books, we have Cambridge curriculum, all this. So our platform allows the learners to access the materials, not just the platform that's there that is enabling learning to continue.
Yes.
So basically, that is what we put together, and that will be a summary.
Ah.
So what we do is we engage the schools because our business is to the school, it's not to an individual learner. So we engage a school, we have a discussion around it, and you're able to have them connected.
Before you exit that page, Alex, something very interesting. You know, I was talking to some educationists, and they were telling me that the reason that you know, this e-learning is not really working for us, and the home learning is not really kicking off, is because, you know, the people who have solutions, maybe the likes of EduVod, you guys lack, you know, the Kenyan curriculums or the Kenyan syllabus. But then I see here you've got 844 curriculum books, you've got the new CBC curriculum books. Then why are schools not picking up?
One of the narrative that goes out there is people always think technology is expensive, whereas it's not. Those schools that have embraced to take on technology, they are benefiting from all this because curriculum books are there, curriculum materials are there, interactive content is there. So it's just a matter of embracing technology. And that has been one of the challenges that we encounter as a private business.
Yes.
Many schools have not embraced technology in their schools. They are still operating in what we call 19th century infrastructure.
19th century.
Whereas you are saying you're implementing a 21st learning curriculum. So those one will not work together. So there must be the drive by schools, by the government to make sure the right infrastructure is in place to school. Because at the end of the day, what do we really want? We want to track our learners' progress. We want to know what do our students learn every day. As a parent, as a government, as a school, we want to know where are we in terms of syllabus, in understanding and all that.
Yes.
So technology brings all that to the table. And such a platform of EduVod, we collect that analytics throughout. So we don't, at the end of the week is when you are putting the information together. We collect them real time and we present it to the users real time through apps and through very friendly portals.
So as you interact with the students and the schools, and as the data goes through, back and forth, the students doing their assignments, the teachers placing the assignments for the students to access, the classrooms being conducted, like the whiteboard where you showed me, a teacher can come and give like an example or a formula of a mathematics, of a math sum. Then all this data is collected real time.
Exactly.
And it's stored on the cloud. That's the language they use nowadays, and not on the gadget.
It's actually processed and made available to the relevant users. Because as a parent, for example, you want to see how is my son, how is my daughter performing every day.
Yes.
So that data we avail it real time throughout. The government would want to know the syllabus coverage, the material being shared, all that. So depending on the level of usage, we are able to deliver that data to specific people in the specified format.
In the specified format, Maybe if I may just take on you, you can just continue, Alex, if there's another step before I actually engage you, because I find this very interesting. There's a handbook that I received from the government one time. I attended an education summit somewhere, and there's 7 core competencies, and among these 7 core competencies in the they call it the CBC. There's the digital learning. I would like to engage you more on that, but then can we proceed? Maybe if there's any other aspect that we've not touched on this.
Now from here, we'll just engage a school and have a more deeper conversation.
All right.
Because digital learning, or rather technology in classroom, is not about laptop or tablets.
All right.
Those are enablers. But what do you do with them in the classroom?
Okay.
So ours is we train the teachers, we provide the technology, And from there, it's just normal learning, because we are saying teachers should be enabled, should not be replaced, but they
Sure.
should be given the right facilities and the right technology to be able to deliver what their work is all about. So training is key also, because we also do teacher training on technology. And our training covers pedagogy is learning in the classroom. We cover introduction to digital platforms, and also now covering our platform, how to interact with our platform.
All right, quite interesting. Alex, something that I would also like to come out very clearly. You mentioned that there's this package that the Microsoft gave for free for schools, and one can actually, in every school has a capacity to host about 5,000 students, which I would say is most hardly the number that most of our schools can hold, even the public schools. Now, but there's like we mentioned earlier, there's the notion that these things are very expensive. Maybe you can just take us through how easy is it for example, the school where my children goes to reach out to Eduvoid and tell them, hey, come and set us up, and how does that work? How easy is it for you guys to go to schools and set them up?
For us, it's a very easy process because we have a team that manages onboarding of customers. So when you get in touch with us through an email or through a phone call, you are able to get the right information. We'll give you a form to inquire about information, because one of the things we want to identify or to establish is the level of infrastructure you have in the school. So that if it's not enough, we work together to see how we can assist you in bringing it to the level that we can say your school is technologically connected. Then now this time the student at home, the requirement is the teachers must have devices to use, a smartphone or a tablet or a laptop. And then student will also need to have a similar, either the same. And then once you're on board, we start the process of setting up a school on the platform. It takes a day to set up a school and all the users. And then from there, we do teacher training. And we do a minimum of 2 teacher sessions. This is to allow, the first session is to introduce the platform, how it works, and how they can interact with this. Then we give them a few days, 2 or 3 days. Then the second training is to answer the questions or where they have gotten issues in interacting with the platform. So after we have done that, then it's a launch. We just launch the school, and the school, you can say it's online. So it's a whole process that takes a maximum of 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah, and our trainings are remote training because of social distancing. We are not going to any school, so a teacher would be trained at the comfort of their house, and the same platform they are going to use to reach out to students is the same platform we are using to train them. So when they're interacting with it during the training session, they become familiar with what we are talking about. Yes.
That's quite interesting. I would just ask that you now exit the screen shared, and then let's now engage on this, because Alex, when you look at the narrative out there, like you clearly did mention, right now not many schools are actually able to do this home learning via the digital platform. Some schools, the teacher would create a WhatsApp group, and then for his class, for his or her class, and then now post the material there, send it on the other end to the parents, who will in turn have to download the material, get the kids to do it. After they finish, take a photo of that, send it back to the teacher, who will start marking it, and then maybe not even finish all the assignments, or I beg your pardon, not finish marking because maybe bundles zake zimeisha, ama ametravel kuenda nyumbani na mahali yuko, he or she cannot access the internet. It's quite tedious for students to actually learn. And the other big disadvantage is that not all parents actually have smartphones that can really engage in that manner. How do we help the public schools especially?
Now, those teachers are really trying, because they are just trying to use the technology that is available to them. And I congratulate them for that. Sometimes it's because technology has not been available to them in a way that they can use a more advanced technology. So for us as a company, what we do is once we engage, we ensure we give the minimum technology level for all the users
All right.
to use the platform. For the government, it's a policy that the Ministry of Education needs to start adopting and
Yes.
accepting some of these things like public-private partnership.
Yes.
Because there are so many private companies who would come on board and help in the process. Because the
Exactly.
government is really trying, has invested a lot of money in it.
Yes.
But we think as private sector, the way the projects have been rolled out, it's not been rolled out in a very, very efficient way.
Okay.
Then they lead to the money that has been allocated not having a really big impact. So it's a conversation that needs to be picked by the ministry and the government at large, so that we see how such partnership would be able to work. Yes.
Speaking of which, maybe you can just give us a bit of a feel. What's your coverage in Kenya? Because, I mean, how many schools have you engaged so far? Because I know we have so many schools, and, you know, given the circumstances, I don't know, is there any possibility that you've engaged schools even in the public sector?
No, we have not engaged schools in the public sector so far. A reason being the Ministry of Education gives out a direction of which direction the public sector needs to follow.
Yeah, yeah.
So for the government, we've engaged the ministry. The ministry knows about what we are doing.
Yes.
So we're just waiting for them to make that decision and investment in time, and we can be able to assist in that. But for our coverage, our delivery for the EduVod platform is the whole of Kenya. We can deliver up to Mandera, up to the farthest corner of the world.
All right.
Because we are not reliant on fiber, for example. We are using satellite for delivery. For Microsoft 365, that one, internet is key.
Okay.
But you also have a solution that gives internet via VSAT to those very remote areas. Those who they don't have infrastructure to deliver very fast internet, but we have an infrastructure to deliver that.
So it's like a point-to-point connection, or what kind of a connection is that?
No, it's a VSAT connection. We feed internet from our POP here in Nairobi. Then it goes via satellite.
All right.
It lands to a school in a remote location. Yeah.
How far in Kenya have you gone in terms of reach?
The farthest I've gone is past Marsabit. It was, I think, 100 kilometers to the border of Ethiopia.
Whoa, that's far.
There's a school there. We went and visited, quite a remote school. So that is the school we are in the process of seeing how it can be connected to our infrastructure. Yeah, hoping we'll be able to do that in the quick time possible.
And maybe, Alex, there are parents who are watching there, and also there's a teacher, maybe a head teacher of a school out there who is watching and is listening to you, saying that this package is actually provided for free by Microsoft. Then one would have the question, all right, what about the gadgets for the children? Yes, okay, my teachers have their laptops, but then what about my students? Do they have to, get their own gadgets and so on and so forth? Or how does it work? Are there, tailor-made gadgets that can assist the children also in learning?
For now, because of how this pandemic came into play, there are no specific gadgets. It's an investment from everyone, and any gadget that can connect to the internet through 3G, 2G, or through a normal cable ADSL connection, they can be able to access the service.
So as long as I have any gadget that can connect to the service or download whatever application is there to be used.
Yeah.
Quite interesting, because the other day I was speaking to one teacher, and there's the idea of, assignments. When children are given assignments, sometimes there's the question of, did the children really do the assignment, or were they helped, or someone did the assignments for them? But then what you explained and how you explained about the system and how the whole portal works is, the teacher can actually do this with students real time.
Yes, it is. But the issue of, is it the student who did their homework, or was their assistant? This is a about responsibility and accountability by everyone.
Yes.
As a parent, I don't want my daughter to, I'm always doing her homework because I'm messing her future. So it's also a responsibility to the parent to ensure that the student, you can assist, yes, you can give a guidance, but don't do homework for your child at any point. Yes. Yes.
Because some
When
of
you talk about integrity, that way it starts.
yeah,
Yes.
personal integrity.
Exactly.
It's among the core competencies also in the, they call it,
In
there
this
was
new
the
curriculum.
CBC, yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
Now, a bit of a change in terms, you know, when we talk about, and it's something that you're taking me through, and I would really appreciate if maybe you could go back there and maybe explain to our viewer a little using the images. You mentioned something about, you know, the old system, how things used to work. There were subjects and topics, but then this time they're using completely different terms. Maybe you can bring us up to date with that, and maybe do a small demo for us if you don't mind.
Now, they're calling them learning areas.
Learning areas.
And, yes, and the learning areas are divided in what you mentioned, like generally they touch on what we, as a country, we are trying to drive ourselves into. Like we have English activities,
Yes.
English literacy. Let me just share that with you.
All right.
And I'll just pick a class, for example,
Okay.
and show how they are arranged.
Uh-huh.
So these are the competencies that are taught.
All right.
Christian religion education activities. They are all activities.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, what you're giving is an activity to be carried out by a student.
Okay.
Either with an assistant of the teacher, fellow student, or even the parents.
Okay.
Because there are some activities that are required to be done at home. Now, the challenge actually about CBC is not doing the activities basically.
Okay.
If we are not careful, we are going to convert our teachers to be reporters. Yeah? Because they are supposed to write a report every day about every student and about every activity. So you can imagine one teacher is supposed, with a class of 25 students, they are supposed to write a report for all those students at the end of the day and be able to teach. So that's why we are saying technology comes in to solve such problems. So all these are all the areas: English literature, environmental hygiene, Islamic, Kiswahili, Swahili literacy, and mathematic activities.
Maybe Alex, is it possible for you to minimize your screen a little so that I'm able to see that? Because that area is, yeah.
Okay, let me try.
Much better.
Can you see now?
Maybe you pull it to the side, to your right, to the right side, so that the categories can actually be able to be more visible to the viewer. Is it possible?
Like that?
Yeah, a little more. Okay. Something like that now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, exactly.
This.
Now, thank you. Now, oh, it went back.
Yeah, like that.
Can you do no? Something you did with the screen resolution that made it more visible. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Now they are able to see the categories clearly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me actually pick a class has more categories here.
All right.
I'm going to pick this one.
Oh, so you got PP1, PP2, grade 1 and 2, all the classes
4.
actually. Yeah.
Yes. So these are the 8 learning areas: Christian religious education activity,
yes.
English activities, English literature, environmental activities, hygiene,
yes.
Islamic, Kiswahili language activity, Kiswahili literacy. You remember in the old curriculum, what you are calling Kiswahili literacy is fasihi. Was it
fasihi?
Yes. So it is then it used to start, I think, in Form 3.
Yes.
But you see now it is starting from the lower age.
From the lower age, yeah.
Everyone, yeah. So they are able to understand this thing from way early, because the decision on what line to follow, maybe this is a discussion we can have another time, how the education structure has been done. at what point do the people start choosing either art,
Yes.
either sports,
Or
either
sciences.
sciences? It's done quite early with the new curriculum. It's
Yes.
doesn't wait up to the high school level.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a discussion. It's a very well thought curriculum,
Yes.
and if it's embraced, it's the best for the country.
Sure. So
But now,
all this noise that people are making about the CBC, that we are not ready for CBC and so on and so forth, that was just kelele tu,
we are not ready infrastructure-wise.
infrastructure-wise. But the system
I would say
itself
that
is the best we
by
have.
yes.
Will work for us.
If, for example, the government, the private sector, schools would be able to adopt such a platform
Yes.
where teachers do their work of teaching. Don't make them become people who generate reports every day.
All right.
But let's have a system that is able to capture that information and prepare a report for you.
Okay.
It will make learning very comfortable. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's quite interesting.
Yes.
Ah, nice. So let's proceed now, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, looking at this, then it means that also using the system, it looks much easier to me, because if a teacher is now trained, like you say, it takes about 2 days to train teachers, first on the introduction and then how to use the system itself. Then doing this, then a teacher can handle quite a lot of work in a day, don't you think?
Exactly. And that is our ultimate goal, to make sure a teacher is not overworked. Let a teacher do the work of teaching, because that is their profession. But let's bring technology in that makes their work very easy.
Okay.
And also it avails as much report, because I don't think in Kenya we really utilize data. We just make decision because it's a season to make a certain decision.
All right.
Rather than having the right data to make the decision. That's why our business is actually an outcome business. It's not a delivery of content, it's outcome.
Nice.
Because that is what we are collecting and giving to the relevant people in the system.
So it's outcome oriented, meaning that even as we proceed and continue with the learning and continue using the system, with time, the data is generated and stored well, so for referrals, so that we don't find ourselves in a position where we start asking ourselves, okay, how do we go about this? It was done the other day, but then there's no data to support that and also to guide.
Exactly. Like now, I'm going to ask you a very simple demonstration, and the government has given out around 1 million devices for learning. But today, if you ask them where those devices are and whether they are being used, they are not able to give you that response.
No way.
Yes, because they don't know where they are. There's a school we went to. When they were delivered, they just opened one device, they looked at it, back to the box, to the shelf. So those devices are just a waste there. They're not being used.
They're not being used because the infrastructure has not been set.
Yes. So as Edivod, we came up with a solution that helps us track from the device to the content to the learner.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. And I mean, part of the areas that we kind of fall short is, follow-up, I would say, for follow-up. And one thing also that I'm a bit, I would say, disappointed as a person, this is my own opinion, is that even at this time when we've had this pandemic and the Ministry of Health have really come out and they have all these, daily updates for us. Quite interestingly, I've not really found any other ministry that have been coming out, especially the Ministry of Education, which there's a lot of expectation. After, I think the Health Ministry, the Finance Ministry, I would rank the Education Ministry third, because the impact that, the negative effect of the coronavirus, apart from the economic aspect of it and the health aspect of it, is the education aspect, where people are grounded from university to baby class.
Very true. And I'm thinking the government, the Ministry of Health right now is doing quite some work in terms of using the right data.
Yes.
And I was very impressed when they were saying they were using the available technology to track those people who are supposed to self-quarantine.
Yes.
And that is a good example of how many ministries can come to work together for the best outcome of everyone. Like now, the ICT ministry and the health ministry worked very well to ensure that this spread of the coronavirus is not, doesn't spread as fast because these people are monitored.
Yes.
Now, where are the other ministries? What are they doing about
What are they
this?
doing? Yeah.
As you've mentioned, Ministry of Education, there are so many people right now who are at home.
Yes.
And there was a rumor the other day on social media saying the school are going to open, I think, on 21st of April.
Yeah, someone was trying to allude to something
Because
like
the
that.
ministry has not given a guideline on what to
Oh,
happen.
so they're leaving the public to just speculate and
Exactly. Yeah. So I think they need to do a bit more. They are not doing enough. They need to do a bit more in terms of update. And also now, during this pandemic, if we can look at the whole thing and see how do we prepare ourselves in future for something like this or something bigger or even smaller, what do we need to use? And my view, and from where I start with, is let us embrace public-private partnership.
Yes.
Yeah, when it comes to education.
Yes.
Let there not be these bracket policies that alienate some people, and they should not make private sector as suppliers only. Let them make partners that they can work with and see how we can utilize what we have.
But isn't it the norm in most governments, if I may not just say African governments, but most governments, to monopolize some sectors and try to just, take a grab of everything in that very sector, which I would say, however, is a bit dangerous right now because had we have, if we could have a sector or an education sector that was not monopolized, then probably today we would be seeing something probably completely different from the scenario that we're experiencing in Kenya right now, don't you think?
Exactly. And one thing I'm saying is, like in Kenya now, there are so many foreign companies coming to invest in schools in Kenya because school is a big business in Kenya. And the reason it's a big school is a big business is the government has monopolized that and made the public school sector not grow as fast as it should. So many people are opting for private schools, which should not be the case.
Yeah.
Rwanda has done it. Rwanda has empowered the public sector in school, and actually the public school perform better than private school.
Okay.
So why can't we do the same? Yeah? It's a matter of policy and thinking ahead and trying to see where do we want ourselves to be in the next 5 years, not just about today. So it has happened in Rwanda. Why no country copy the same and to work in Kenya? It's Africa.
Can we term it as lack of political goodwill?
Precisely, it's lack of goodwill from the leadership. Yeah.
Well, Alex, we are now running out of time. But then, Alex, if I may just ask you to engage our viewer this time, because I mean, such a program. If schools that are equipped with maybe computers and laptops, and teachers who have the gadgets, and students also who can afford to some extent to have their to access this kind of technology. What would be your advice to them? Because there are so many schools out there. Some of them genuinely don't know about these solutions, and probably maybe because no one has been there to advise them. But then this seems like a very easy solution that can be, adopted by many institutions.
Yeah, it is, and we are willing to help as much as we can. And as I said, we are not charging for it. We are also trying to help in the situation where we can. And our capability of where we can is enabling this remote learning. So we are not going to charge for it. But now the school need to invest in the infrastructure required. The teachers need to have devices. The students need to have devices. Then we bring in the technology. So they can reach us through our emails, through our social media. It's EduVod Africa. Facebook, EduVod Africa. Twitter, the same. Everywhere is EduVod Africa.
EduVod Africa.
Also EduVod Africa. And then if you want to write to us, you can write to remotelearning@eduvod.co.ke.
Okay. That's remotelearning@eduvod.co.ke. Our viewers, I hope you got that. Well, thank you very much, Bwana Alex, and thank you for your time. I mean, it's quite interesting to just see the simplicity that is in using the system, and then you get to wonder why schools have not actually adopted to this, and not just schools, but then on this one, I would like to pin it on the government. I mean, why do we wait until, you know, we are in a complete fix for us to invest in such infrastructure and such technology that can really help us? And I think the government should take advantage of this time that they've actually seen the need for such infrastructure, don't you think? So that even as we come
Very
out,
true.
even as we come out of this pandemic, then we make it a norm in our schools.
Very true, and I actually totally agree with you. And you see, what I said earlier, like the devices they have given out there, we should be having 1 million students utilizing them in such a time, using them. But I'm sure right now, none of those devices is being used.
Sure.
So as you say, we pin it to the government. This is a high time to rethink about the strategy they are using, the policies they are using, look at what other markets are doing, and try to embrace the best out of them. Because I say Africa, we are at an advantage. Whatever we are doing has been done elsewhere.
Yes.
So why can't we just copy the best that has worked and make it work for us?
China is doing very well in technology today, and it's surprising that China began in the technology world, or in the artificial intelligence world. China began as a copy and paste industry, but then today, I was talking to someone, a friend of mine, a student who is in Wuhan. Actually, is in the lockdown in Wuhan in China yesterday, and he told me that, I mean, the company, they call it Huawei, is now a leading company and is winning many contracts even in Europe. But then it started out as just a simple, you know, copy and paste. People would look at Huawei products and say, I mean, what kind of a phone is this? But today they are really big competition for the big boys in the industry.
Very true. And you see, their strategy has worked. Copy elsewhere, use what worked, drop what didn't work.
And develop it a little.
That always, don't reinvent the wheel when you don't have to. Yeah. These big markets have already done it.
Yes.
Pick it. Like, for example, as you've mentioned, China made progress in this pandemic because of what they've been criticized so much on, the camera.
Yes.
The street surveillance. They were able to follow anyone from the airport to the hotel you are living in to your home. And when you leave, they know you're leaving.
And they even monitor their temperatures real time.
Exactly, exactly. And they have been criticized for that for so long.
Yes.
But it has worked for them at this time.
Yeah, I mean, the international community, I would call it the international press, was really critical of that, you know, invasion of privacy and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
But then the same vice has turned into a savior in the time of this pandemic.
Very true. I agree with you. And I think now that's why I'm saying that model works. Copy paste. Don't reinvent the wheel when you don't have to.
Yes, yes.
But only pick that works. Like we don't even have to go to Europe. What has Rwanda done in education sector that is working for them? Yeah. Kagame and our president, they are good friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Why can't the Ministry of Education in Kenya learn from Ministry of Education in Rwanda?
Benchmark.
And see how we can benchmark.
It's
with
called
them.
benchmarking.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think if we have such an approach, I think we can go far.
Politically speaking, it's quite a shame, because the person who actually started the Rwandan IT sector to the top of the to the helm of Africa was one of our own. I mean, he served for a long time. I don't know if he's still holding the same position. I'm talking about former Rangwe MP, Shem Ochodo, who ran the IT sector in Rwanda for quite some while.
Exactly, and now he's doing it for Southern Sudan. If Southern Sudan had peace, trust me, they'll be doing some very, very good things. So we have the knowledge, we have the people who can do it, they have done it before. So what we are not doing is just utilizing them and using the right policies for the right thing.
Well, I would again pin it back to the government, lack of political goodwill. Well, Alex, exactly. for lack of time, maybe just your parting shot to our viewers, the education sector, their teachers who are watching you, their parents who are watching you at home. Alex, can I do this with my child? Can I just have this for my children? Say I have 3 children. And I mean, if the government is not picking it up, if the schools are not picking it up, is it possible for me? Because at this age and time, it's always sometimes very difficult for parents and children to just sit together and have that quality time. But is there a way that I can do this? I can have this program for myself and my children, per se?
Now, for now, the free licenses are only for schools.
Are
They're
only for
not for
schools.
individual users. So
So if I have to do it as an individual, then I'll have to invest some money on that?
Exactly. You need to invest some money on it.
Is it
Yes.
is it expensive for an individual to do that, or a bit
It's not.
pocket friendly?
You can pick the package that works for you,
All right.
and you can look at the Microsoft website. They have all their pricing there. They
All
are
right.
not hidden. They are open, so you can look at them and see where you fit in.
Uh-huh.
But my challenge to the parents, teachers, school owners, the government is they should always not fear technology and look at it as an expensive venture. It's a worthy investment. You need to invest in a bit of it, but the moment you've invested once, you can be able to reap a lot out of a simple investment. Yes.
Well, quite interesting. I mean, not to fear investing in technology. That's the advice from Alex Nyaga. I mean, we are actually in the future we are going to the technological world. So why not just invest there early enough?
Exactly. We invest now, we reap the fruits later. We invest later, we harvest the fruits much later.
Much later.
So it depends. When do you invest? When do you plant? You can't expect to harvest when you've not planted. So if you invest now in 2020, 2021, 2022, you're going to harvest. But if you invest in 2022,
yes,
the harvest will come in 2025.
Definitely.
So it's a matter of decision. When do you want to harvest? Let's invest now. It's a good field for everyone, and as I mentioned, data is everything. All these big companies in the US, they are developing because of data. 5G is a big topic, a political topic in the world today, because what it involves is around data for humans.
All right.
So as EduVod, that's our business in education.
Okay.
Yes.
Right now, I think as we conclude, maybe your parting shot, Alex?
I would just tell schools, school owners and teachers, reach out. We are willing to help. As I mentioned, we are not charging for it for now. We're just coming in to help, and our help comes in through technology. So because that's our field, that's where we play. So reach out and we'll be able to assist you.
All right. Thank you very much. Alex Nyaga, the Technical Director, EduVod Africa, has been giving us a lot of insight this morning. If you have any comments, I think Alex gave us how to reach them, actually, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on all those platforms. You can just reach them, find them as EduVod Africa. Well, I'm really glad that we had this conversation this morning. Alex, thank you very much for joining us. And viewer, we have come to the end of this segment. I do hope that you did learn a thing or two. And for all educators who are out there, school owners, teachers and students also, you can push for implementation of this, because, I mean, we are heading into the future, and that's where we will find ourselves in. And like Alex mentioned, let's invest now and then we'll reap later. But if we invest later, we'll reap much later. I like that. And on that note, I'm not adding anything, viewer. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Do have yourself a lovely day. My name is Timothy Omondi. See you again tomorrow, same time, same place, God willing.